Hello nerds, welcome. Once again, this is Leo Charkar from thunderstormart.com. Today I want to talk about moving in Zbrush, various ways in which we can move different elements. Before we get into that, please like and subscribe. And if you want to support me, it's going to be on patreon.com/thunderstormart. I'm working on a graphic novel and role-playing game that's pretty metal and pretty cool, so check it out. Okay, so this is covering some of the basics in Zbrush. So we have Zbrush right here. Open up, I have a little character that I'm working on. And this one will cover a couple of different things. One very useful way to set up references in Zbrush, right, is going to be the see-through mode right here. I'm a big fan of that because you can set up any window in the back, such as a PRF or any kind of image or browser window, and it will allow you to kind of see through that. So over here in the back I have Paintstorm Studio, right? A little sketch that I made for the proportions of what I want my character's anatomy to kind of look like. You can see certain differences, right? I got a really buff kind of character. This is going to be the main character, the hero. So there's a few things that need to be changed in order to make those proportions work, right? So first, the legs are going to be a little bit longer. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to hold Control and go back here to Mask Rectangle. It should be that by default. But normally, even if you have Mask Pen, it should give you the rectangle as well, right? So this is masking. When you're on the mesh, you can paint on it. But when you start off the mesh, when you're holding Control, right, the cursor becomes yellow and you have a mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask out the bottom part of the legs. Now with the mouse and Control still held, I am now going to hold Alt, and it's going to lighten up, meaning unmask. So now it's going to mask everything else except that. Now with Control held, I'm going to tap, I'm going to soften that. I'm going to Control tap in an empty space. I'm going to invert that, and I'm going to Control tap again to increase the feathering, right? Now I'm going to hit W on my keyboard, W. So right here if you prefer to use the buttons, but don't. And it's going to give us the gizmo. Now because I have symmetry mode selected, it's going to jump in between those. That's okay because I can hold Alt to unlock this and click this little map marker icon to go to the unmasked mesh center. With Alt still held, I also want to reset the orientation right here. Now we have this gizmo for Y up, X sideways, and we got the blue, which is going to go back and forth, right? So all I want to do is now with the soft selection, just bring the knee down a little bit, just a little bit. That's all it took. And now I'm going to repeat this process for the middle half of the legs. Now, very important, when I'm in gizmo mode, one of those three, holding Control and tapping it might not necessarily do what I wanted. This is especially true if you have any polygroups on. So just in case it gives you any troubles, you're just going to hit Q to go back to draw mode, right? This is W, this is Q. But if you hit W, E, or R, it's going to go in between the three gizmo modes, and Q is going to bring you back right here to draw mode. Okay? We're just going to go back to W and just pull it down a little bit. Okay? Just pull it down a little bit. Alright. So, a couple of things that we definitely want to do. One second. Alright. So, a couple of things that I want to do is I want to make sure the arms kind of match up. So, with Control, I'm going to go back to this brush kind of selection, the quick pick, and I'm going to select Mask Lasso right here. Mask Lasso will let me draw a custom shape, right, instead of a rectangle. So with symmetry still activated, and those of you who don't know, you can activate or deactivate symmetry with X, right? You can kind of tell when it's on by seeing the other side, right? So symmetry is on. I'm gonna feather this out just a little bit. Now I'm gonna go to with Alt held, very important because that unlocks the pivot. I'm gonna go to Unmask Mesh Center right here, and with this I'm actually gonna continue holding Alt and manually move it wherever I want that pivot point to be. This is gonna be very important because we want the arm, when we rotate it, to rotate around that center, right? So this is what we want. Once we have it here, we're going to go ahead and rotate it sideways, and we can pull it down ever so slightly, like so, to kind of line it up. Okay? Something like that. And maybe real quick, and a little bit bigger for that kind of staff and reinforcement in that process. Sometimes if you're trying to scale it and it's scaling off of the center, what you can do is go right here to LSym, right here, local symmetry, and that's only going to account for this area. That's going to scale it using that pivot point center, right? Which is what I want in this particular case. Okay, so those are a few options for moving, and of course we have our move brush for the shortcut. Those of us who want to work faster and more efficiently, very good to get used to that early. So B, M, V, right? Again, B for brush, M, V for move, M, V. Now we have the move brush right here. Move brush, very, very simple. We can hold S to change the size, and we're just gonna move and push and pull the proportions as we need them to go. Like so. And let's get out of see-through mode real quick, okay? Because I know that the ribs are actually going to be over here, and it's going to be, in fact, the lats that are going to be coming out, like so. This is a little bit of anatomy for you, okay? Just a little bit of that. A little bit extreme, but that's okay. We can smooth that down with the smooth brush by holding shift, just to get rid of the angularity here. We can tweak those proportions more in depth later in the specific angles, but for now, this serves our purposes. Key for perspective, bring that in a little bit. Just give those huge defined kind of shoulders, very iconic, almost superhero-like shoulders, right, or bodybuilder kind of shoulders we all want, really. Continue extending this anatomy, but there's a couple of other things that I want to do first. Let me check the see-through mode real quick. See how close I'm getting here. I'll turn perspective off so that we don't get too much distortion. Okay, the proportions are not quite right, but we can do this from the back. We just need that silhouette. So. Now, sometimes you will run into an issue like this, where you're holding this, but because of the brush radius, it's also affecting this, the arm area. One way to circumvent that to some degree is actually using a different move brush called the Move Topological. B, M, T for Move Topological, right? So if BMV is for Move, BMT for Move Topological. If we do that, you can notice a little bit less of an effect over here, because what it will do, it will follow the distance in the brush size based on topological continuity rather than just objective kind of brush influence area, and that will allow you to achieve a goal kind of closer to what you may have had in mind. Okay. silhouette. Now something else is you have the focal shift, shortcut O, okay? And this is going to affect, you see the two circles? The smallest circle is where the effect is at 100% strength, and the outer circle is where the effect ends. So basically this controls the fall off. So if you have something like this, and your fall off is going to be very harsh. Let's do this real quick. The fall off is going to be very harsh. But if you have something that's to the other extreme, the effect is actually going to be very sharp, right? And of course, somewhere in the middle, that's gonna shift, so it is 0, and that's gonna be like this kind of effect, right? So because I want the chromium process over here to dip a little bit deeper, I'm actually gonna bring the focal shift up slightly, and bring that in a little bit. There's plenty of things we can do here with the anatomy, and we will. But for now, we're just getting the main portions. And we can move that armpit in a little bit. Increase the definition. Find the ribs. So, that'll do for now. Let's move on to the face. This is where it's going to be extremely handy. So, turn this off. This is what the character is ultimately going to look like at this point. Concept is work in progress, but the part that I care about most is going to be right here. The sketch that I made for the face. I'm going to center it somewhat. Like this, Zbrush, see-through mode, make sure everything's good, and zoom in as needed just to find those proportions that I want for that. Okay. So already I can tell the eyes are going to be a little bit larger, the ears are going to be slightly larger. There's a bit of variation over here. Mouth is going to be a little bit lower. So this is move topological. Another really good use for move topological is going to be where when you're trying to open the mouth, if your brush size is not too large, with the normal move, it will just move both of them, but with move topological, because the topology continuity has to go all the way around before it's affected, it'll allow you to do things like open up the mouth slightly, right, like so, which you can't really do with that looks awful. But you can't really do that with the normal move because they're so close together they'll just move together. Okay. All right. So let's see what do I want to do here. Okay, so you need those eyes to be a little bit higher. Next, I want that nose forms be a little bit wider as well. It's going to be a little bit wider, and we will need to actually look at this from other angles and apply our anatomical knowledge, of course. But for a start, I'm going to go back, Control Z a little bit. does actually want to line it up with the skull. So I'm going to line it up with the skull a little bit better. Kind of like somewhere here. And now I'm going to do all this. So I'm going to bring the mouth a little bit lower. I'm warning you because I don't like undo history going bye-bye. It's okay. Something like this one. Again, I'm just using the move brush over here. Okay, this is the power of the move brush. Actually, doesn't look too bad. I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. Or grumpy. Very important for a hero to be grumpy at all times. There you go. Strong masseter over here. Make sure the ears line up anatomically with the nose. Something like this. Alright. And of course the move brush can be used to make a lot of other tweaks to the anatomy. Just small micro tweaks, just be watching that silhouette at all times, right? You know, very, very useful. And I also strongly recommend doing these changes as big of a brush as you can get away with. The bigger the better, and at lower resolution, because otherwise, if you're running too high of a resolution like this, and you start moving, you're going to run into all sorts of weird bumpiness. So this is more something that I use to control silhouette at low resolution. Okay, let's keep that in mind. To start, and of course we can do a lot more here. You know, we can band standard, accentuate this form, and this kind of form break over here. Point and flake, we can add more mass where we need it. Right. But there's, like I said, a lot that you can do just with a little bit. There we go. And just continue tweaking until it looks the way you want it to. Alright. So yeah, hopefully that helps. And we'll see you all in the next one. Peace.